Kicking things off at number 1, Mario Kart World is the flagship racing title launched alongside Nintendo Switch 2 and instantly established itself as the most ambitious entry in the franchise's long history. The game expands the traditional circuit format with an open world that connects all tracks across a continuous drivable map, allowing players to explore freely between races and discover shortcuts, collectibles, and hidden routes scattered throughout the world. The roster of playable characters is the largest in franchise history, and the selection of tracks spans classic fan favorites reimagined with new visuals, alongside entirely original courses designed to showcase the open world concept. The item system retains the beloved unpredictability of the series, while introducing new additions that create fresh strategic moments. Online and local multiplayer remain as polished as ever. Visual performance on Switch 2 hardware is a generational leap over its predecessor. Mario Kart World is not just the best racing game on the platform, but one of the defining launch titles in Nintendo history. Second on the list is F1 24, the official Formula One racing simulation from EA Sports and Codemasters that brings the full drama and technical depth of the World Championship to the Nintendo Switch 2, with a strong performance thanks to the upgraded hardware. Players can compete across the full calendar of real-world circuits, with every official team and driver represented. The My Team Career mode allows players to create and manage their own constructor, making decisions about car development, driver contracts, and race strategy across multiple seasons. The handling model balances simulation depth with accessibility, making it approachable for newcomers while rewarding experienced players who invest time in setup and technique. Driver Career mode puts players directly in the seat of a real team, with a narrative arc tracking their rise through the grid. Online multiplayer delivers competitive racing with full regulation support. For fans of real-world motorsport, F1 24 on Nintendo Switch 2 is the most technically detailed and authentic racing experience available on the platform. Number 3 is Dirt 5, the visually vibrant off-road racing game from Codemasters that delivers an arcade-focused rally experience across a global tour of mud, ice, snow, and circuits. The handling prioritizes fun and accessibility over simulation precision, making it immediately enjoyable for players without deep racing game experience, while maintaining enough depth to reward consistent improvement. The career mode features an entertaining narrative with radio commentary from 2 rival voices who debate your choices and progress throughout the season. Track types span tarmac sprint circuits, ice lakes, canyon runs, and beach races, with each surface behaving distinctly under the car. The visual presentation is excellent, with dynamic weather and time of day systems that dramatically change the atmosphere of each event. 4-player split-screen local multiplayer is included, making it one of the best options for couch racing sessions. On Nintendo Switch 2, Dirt 5 runs cleanly and delivers the full energetic experience of the original release, with all its content intact. Fourth is Hotshot Racing, the retro-styled arcade racer from Sumo Digital and Lucky Mountain Games that draws clear inspiration from classic 90s racing titles while delivering a completely modern and polished gameplay experience. The low-polygon visual aesthetic is deliberate and charming, evoking the era of early 3-dimensional racing without feeling cheap or unfinished. 8 playable characters each bring their own car and handling feel, encouraging experimentation to find a preferred driving style. A slipstream mechanic rewards close drafting behind opponents, building a boost charge that releases in powerful surges that shake up race positions dramatically. Multiple game modes include Grand Prix, Championship, Time Trial, and a chaotic Cops and Robbers mode that adds variety beyond traditional racing. The sense of speed is genuinely exhilarating, with courses designed to maximize momentum and flow. Online multiplayer supports up to 8 players. Hotshot Racing is one of the most purely enjoyable arcade racing experiences available on Nintendo Switch 2 for players who grew up with or appreciate the golden age of retro racing. Fifth on the list is Grid Legends, the racing game from Codemasters that blends diverse motorsport disciplines with a live-action story mode that sets it apart from other titles in the genre. Players compete across circuit racing, touring cars, trucks, electric supercars, and even drift events across a global selection of real and fictional circuits. The narrative mode features filmed cutscenes with real actors delivering a dramatic behind-the-scenes motorsport story that runs alongside the main career progression. Race weekends feature customizable grids, allowing players to adjust AI opponent settings, race length, and weather conditions for tailored experiences. The handling sits comfortably between arcade approachability and simulation challenge, making it accessible without feeling shallow. Online multiplayer is comprehensive, with community events and ranked competitive modes. Local split screen is also supported. Grid Legends represents a thoughtful and content-rich racing package that suits Nintendo Switch 2 players who want variety across multiple motorsport categories without sacrificing depth or visual quality. Sixth is Inertial Drift, the distinctive twin-stick arcade racer from Level 91 Entertainment that completely reinvents how drifting is controlled in racing games by dedicating the right analog stick entirely to managing the angle and intensity of each slide. This control scheme creates a genuinely new skill ceiling, where mastering the relationship between throttle and drift angle is deeply satisfying and unlike any other racing game available. The game features a roster of original fictional cars, each with very different drift characteristics, demanding players adopt their technique to each vehicle. The 90s Japanese street racing aesthetic is executed with a striking visual style that uses bold colors and clean line art. Story mode delivers light visual novel-style narrative between races, adding personality to the competition. The game also supports head-to-head split screen for direct local competition. Inertial Drift is the most mechanically innovative racing game on Nintendo Switch 2, and essential for players who want a fresh and challenging approach to the genre. At 7, Circuit Superstars from Square Enix and Original Fire Games brings the top-down racing genre back with a modern polish that respects the traditions of the format while making it immediately accessible to a contemporary audience. The camera perspective is isometric rather than fixed top-down, giving the game a three-dimensional feel while maintaining the wide overview that defines the genre. Car classes span formula racing, touring cars, motorcycles, trucks, and more, each requiring genuinely different driving techniques and approaches to each circuit. The physics model rewards brake timing, racing lines, and patience, punishing reckless driving with spinouts and damaged cars. Career mode progresses through a full season structure with championship standings. Local multiplayer supports up to 4 players, making it an excellent couch racing option. The visual presentation is charming and clean, with detailed miniature-style tracks and weather effects. Circuit Superstars is a love letter to classic motorsport, packaged in an accessible and visually appealing format well-suited to Nintendo Switch 2. Number 8 is Art of Rally, the minimalist but deeply atmospheric top-down rally game from Fun Selector that celebrates the golden era of rally racing with a dreamlike visual style and a surprisingly authentic driving feel for its perspective. Players race through stages inspired by real rally locations across Finland, Sardinia, Kenya, and Japan, using cars drawn from the sport's history in a stylized low-poly presentation. The handling model captures the challenge of rally driving through weight transfer, surface grip differences, and the need to commit fully to corners despite limited visibility. Stages are set against gorgeous environmental backdrops, with dynamic lighting that shifts beautifully across sunrise, midday, and sunset conditions. The lack of a traditional HUD and the minimalist presentation create a meditative quality that makes Art of Rally feel unlike any other racing game available on the platform. Daily and weekly challenge modes add ongoing competitive engagement. On Nintendo Switch 2, the game runs beautifully in both docked and handheld modes, making it an ideal fit for the platform. Ninth is Gear Club Unlimited 2, the car enthusiast racing game from Eden Games that combines a realistic vehicle roster with a career progression structure built around licensing, upgrades, and workshop development. Players start with accessible entry-level cars and work through a championship ladder while developing their workshop with mechanics and equipment that unlock performance upgrade tiers. The car roster focuses on authentic licensed vehicles from real manufacturers, appealing strongly to automotive enthusiasts who care about the specific models they drive. Track design covers a variety of environments, from urban circuits to mountain roads, with consistent visual quality across all locations. The handling adapts to upgrades meaningfully, with improved cars feeling noticeably faster and more planted through corners. The game was built specifically for Nintendo platforms, giving it a development focus that shows in its stability and performance. For Switch 2 players who want a dedicated car progression experience with authentic vehicles and satisfying upgrade loops, Gear Club Unlimited 2 remains one of the most complete options available. At 10, Lonely Mountains Downhill from Megagon Industries is the tranquil yet surprisingly challenging downhill mountain biking game, where players guide a rider from the summit of a mountain to the base through densely forested trails filled with rocks, roots, and steep drop-offs. Each mountain has multiple trails of increasing difficulty, and the goal evolves from simply reaching the bottom to completing runs within time limits and with as few crashes as possible. The minimalist visual style uses simple shapes and natural colors to create environments that are both readable and genuinely beautiful. Crashes are frequent early on, but the quick restart system makes failure feel inconsequential and keeps the pacing fast. The meditative nature of finding the optimal line through each section creates a deeply satisfying gameplay loop. New mountains and seasonal event challenges added through updates have significantly expanded the content available. On Nintendo Switch, the game is a perfect fit for short handheld sessions or relaxed longer play, offering a calm but engaging alternative to the adrenaline of traditional racing games. 11th on the list is Horizon Chase 2, the vibrant arcade racer from Aquaris that celebrates the spirit of classic 90s racing games with a modern visual presentation and a deeply generous amount of content. The game features hundreds of races spread across a global world tour, with tracks inspired by real international locations, rendered in a colorful and stylized aesthetic. The handling is tuned for pure arcade fun, with no simulation elements getting in the way of the joy of sliding through corners at full speed. Vehicle upgrades are earned through race performance, providing a satisfying progression loop that encourages replaying events for better results. Multiplayer supports local and online racing across the full track list. The soundtrack is upbeat and energetic, matching the visual energy of the game throughout. Horizon Chase 2 respects the tradition of accessible arcade racing while delivering enough content and variety to keep players engaged across many hours. For Nintendo Switch 2 owners who want straightforward and consistently fun racing with complexity, this is one of the most reliable choices on the platform. At 12, Redout 2 from 34 Big Things is the premium anti-gravity racing experience that brings the fast and brutal spirit of classic futuristic racers into the modern era with an outstanding visual style and a demanding skill ceiling. Ships travel at extraordinary speeds across twisting tube circuits and open sky tracks, with the player managing both racing lines and the physical orientation of the craft through banking mechanics that affect handling at high velocity. The sense of speed in Redout 2 is among the most intense of any racing game available on Switch 2, creating a genuinely exhilarating experience for players who push the craft to its limits. The deep ship customization system allows players to tune their vehicle's handling profile extensively. Career mode provides a large selection of events across multiple ship classes. Online multiplayer supports competitive racing with full track access. For players who grew up with futuristic racing classics and want a modern successor that truly captures and exceeds that speed and intensity, Redout 2 on Nintendo Switch 2 is the definitive choice. 13th is Trackmania, the legendary track racing game from Nickelodeon that has defined a genre through its combination of precision driving, extreme track design, and an incredibly active community of custom content creators. Courses are abstract obstacle challenges rather than traditional circuits, demanding players master specific tricks, including wall rides, loops, banked curves, and high-speed jumps to post competitive times. The medal system provides clear progression goals for each official track, pushing players to continuously improve their technique. The track editor is one of the most powerful in any racing game, enabling the community to create and share an endless supply of new challenges. Time trial competition is global, with leaderboards showing exactly where your times stand against the worldwide player base. The game updates continuously with new official tracks and seasonal content. Trackmania on Nintendo Switch 2 gives handheld and docked players access to one of the most unique and community-driven racing ecosystems in gaming, offering virtually unlimited content for players who invest in mastering its demanding skill requirements. 14th is Road Redemption, the motorcycle combat racing game from Pixel Dash Studios and EQ Games that combines the high-speed pursuit of classic road racing games with the brutal melee combat of brawlers. Players race through procedurally generated campaign runs, battling rival gang members, police, and rival racers, using weapons collected during each stage run. Permanent upgrades carry across campaign attempts, slowly increasing health, combat ability, and other stats for more consistent performances. Two-player local co-op allows pairs to tackle the campaign together, doubling both the chaos and the firepower. The roguelike structure keeps runs feeling varied despite the procedural generation. Road Redemption occupies a truly unique niche in the racing genre, combining the mechanical satisfaction of competitive motorcycle racing with the cathartic violence of a brawler in a package that feels unlike anything else available on Nintendo Switch 2. At 15, Monster Truck Championship from Teon brings the thundering spectacle of monster truck competition to Nintendo Switch 2, with an authentic career mode and a wide variety of event types spanning racing, freestyle performance, destruction derbies, and trial challenges. Each event type demands a completely different approach, from precise racing lines on outdoor circuits to maximizing crowd-pleasing stunt scores in freestyle arenas. The truck customization system covers both visual and performance modifications, allowing players to build vehicles suited to their preferred disciplines. Physics handling captures the weight and instability of operating a massive vehicle with enormous suspension travel, making recovery from awkward landings a consistent skill requirement. Career mode guides players through a structured progression across regional and national championships, with team management decisions between events. The online modes extend the competitive experience beyond the single-player campaign. Monster Truck Championship is a niche but exceptionally well-executed racing title that fills a gap in the Nintendo Switch 2 library with genuine depth and entertainment value. 16th is Touring Karts, the virtual reality-compatible kart racing game from Archiact that translates well to Nintendo Switch 2 as a straightforward and entertaining kart racer with a focus on clean track design and responsive handling. The game features a selection of kart classes and circuits with varying complexity, from beginner-friendly open layouts to technical tracks that reward consistent racing lines and precise braking. Item pickups add the expected chaos of the kart racing genre, with projectiles and traps disrupting the race order in entertaining ways. The career mode progresses through championship structures across difficulty tiers. Multiplayer supports both local and online racing for competitive sessions beyond the single-player content. The visual presentation is colorful and readable, with tracks designed for clarity during high-speed play. Touring Karts serves as a solid and accessible kart racing option on Nintendo Switch 2 for players who want a fun and uncomplicated racing experience with friends, or as a stepping stone into the genre before tackling more demanding titles on the platform. At 17, NASCAR Heat 5 from 704 Games brings the full American oval racing experience to Nintendo Switch 2, covering the official Cup Series, Xfinity Series, Gander Truck Series, and Extreme Dirt Tour with complete driver and track rosters from each championship tier. The handling model focuses on the specific demands of oval racing, where draft management, pitch strategy timing, and the physics of high banks turns create a distinct racing style completely unlike road course competition. Career mode begins in the lower series and progresses to the Cup Series through performance and contract negotiations. The paint booth allows full custom livery creation for both single-player career and online presentation. Heat modes and online multiplayer support competitive racing across the official track list. For fans of American motorsport, NASCAR Heat 5 provides the most comprehensive and authentic oval racing simulation available on Nintendo Switch 2, capturing the unique strategic and physical demands of high-speed stock car racing in a package that plays well on the platform. 18th is Tabletop Racing World Tour, the miniature vehicle racing game from Prix Digital that shrinks the racing experience down to tabletop scale, putting tiny cars on tracks built across kitchen counters, dining tables, and other domestic surfaces. The concept creates naturally creative track environments where everyday objects become enormous obstacles, ramps, and barriers. The handling is tuned for fast and accessible arcade play, with a variety of vehicle classes each handling distinctly. Weapon pickups add competitive chaos to races in the tradition of the kart racing genre. Career mode covers multiple championship series with increasing difficulty across the season structure. Upgrade systems allow vehicle performance improvements earned through race earnings. The game was designed with portable platforms in mind, making it an excellent fit for Nintendo Switch 2, in both handheld and docked configurations. Tabletop Racing World Tour offers a charming and distinctive visual premise, alongside solid arcade racing mechanics that provide a fun and relaxed alternative to the more intense competitive racing titles elsewhere on this list. 19th is Speed 3 Grand Prix from Milkstone Studios, the accessible formula racing game that delivers the visual excitement of open-wheel circuit racing with controls and a learning curve designed for players who want a fun racing experience rather than a demanding simulation. The game covers fictional circuits across a variety of international settings, with weather systems and day-night cycles adding visual variety to the racing environments. Career mode progresses through a full season structure with championship standings and team development decisions. The handling rewards smooth driving and consistent breakpoints without requiring deep technical knowledge of real racing setups. Visual presentation is clean and colorful, with the open-wheel cars and trackside details rendered at a quality level that makes good use of Nintendo Switch 2 hardware. Multiplayer options include local split-screen and online racing. Speed 3 Grand Prix fills the niche of approachable formula racing on Nintendo Switch 2 for players who want the aesthetic and excitement of open-wheel competition, packaged in a game that remains fun and manageable without excessive difficulty barriers. At 20, Antigraviator from Cybernetic Walrus is the premium anti-gravity racing game that strips away traditional weapons in favor of environmental traps and interference systems built directly into the track design. Rather than carrying and firing projectiles, players activate hazards embedded in the circuit itself, triggering obstacles, gravitational anomalies, and barriers that disrupt opponents without the random chaos of traditional item systems. This approach creates a more skill-based form of combat racing, where knowledge of each track's trap locations becomes a meaningful competitive advantage. The ships travel at extraordinary speed through tube circuits and atmospheric outdoor tracks, with the visual design emphasizing the sleek aesthetic of science fiction racing. Career Mode covers a full championship structure across multiple ship classes with gradually escalating competition. Online leaderboards and competitive modes extend the experience beyond the single-player content. For Nintendo Switch 2 players who appreciate the anti-gravity racing genre but prefer a more strategic and less random form of race interference, Antigraviator offers a genuinely distinct and compelling alternative to similar titles. 21 is FIA European Truck Racing Championship from Big Moon Entertainment, the officially licensed simulation of one of motorsport's most visually spectacular and underrepresented disciplines, where massive racing trucks weighing several tons compete at surprisingly high speeds across real European circuits. The handling communicates the enormous weight and momentum of each truck clearly, demanding patient and strategic driving that balances late braking with careful management of the vehicle's inertia through corners. Damage systems affect truck performance meaningfully, punishing aggressive contact with competitors during the close racing the championship is known for. The full official license covers real teams, drivers, and circuits from the European Championship calendar. Career Mode progresses through a structured season with championship implications. The game is a niche but exceptionally well-executed official simulation that brings a largely overlooked real-world racing series to Nintendo Switch 2 players, with enough authenticity and depth to satisfy fans of the discipline and motorsport enthusiasts looking for something genuinely different from conventional racing titles on the platform. At 22, Cruis'n Blast from Raw Thrills brings the beloved 90s arcade racing franchise back with a Switch-exclusive port of the arcade cabinet original that captures the outrageous and over-the-top spirit of the classic series perfectly. Players race exotic and absurd vehicles, including unicorns, dinosaurs, and monster trucks, through wildly themed courses that include underwater environments, prehistoric landscapes, and futuristic cityscapes. Gameplay is built around pure arcade speed and spectacle, with no simulation elements anywhere in the design. Boost pickups and vehicle-specific special abilities create chaos and overtaking opportunities throughout each short and intense race. The visual presentation is colorful and deliberately bombastic, leaning fully into the carnival atmosphere the franchise has always embraced. Local multiplayer supports up to 4 players in split-screen for the full arcade party experience. Cruis'n Blast is the most purely fun and unpretentious racing game on Nintendo Switch 2, designed entirely for the joy of immediate and accessible entertainment, without any barriers or complexity standing between the player and a great time. 23 is Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 Slime Speedway from Bamtang Games, the third and most polished entry in the kart racing series, featuring characters from the full catalog of Nickelodeon animated series. The expanded roster covers characters from SpongeBob, Rugrats, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Avatar, and many more beloved Nickelodeon properties, with each racer bringing their own handling feel and special ability to races. Track design is directly inspired by the worlds of the featured animated series, creating visually recognizable circuits that fans of each show will immediately appreciate. The slime mechanic allows players to deploy the franchise's signature green goo as both a weapon and a speed boost trigger depending on usage. Career Mode covers a full championship structure with unlockable content rewards. Online and local multiplayer are both fully supported, with the game accommodating up to 4 players in split screen. Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 Slime Speedway is the most entertaining and content-rich, family-friendly kart racing option on Nintendo Switch 2 beyond the Nintendo first-party offering. Closing out the list at number 24 is Xenon Racer from 3 Flip Studios, the futuristic hybrid racing game set in a near future where electric vehicles and traditional combustion engines are combined into hybrid supercars, competing across a global championship series. The game mixes the handling complexity of traditional circuit racing with an electric boost management system that requires players to balance conventional speed with strategic deployment of the extra power reserves built through drafting and clean driving. Tracks span real international city locations rendered in a sleek and neon-tinged visual style that suits the near-future setting effectively. Career mode progresses through a full season structure with team and vehicle development between races. The handling rewards commitment and clean technique, with cars that feel planted and responsive once the physics model is understood. Visual presentation is sharp and fast on Nintendo Switch 2 hardware. Xenon Racer occupies a middle ground between pure arcade and light simulation that makes it a solid option for players seeking a futuristic racing experience with more mechanical substance than typical arcade titles available on the platform.